Tae-hyung stood in his small apartment on Kepler Station, looking out at the endless stars beyond the transparent wall. He had been living among the stars for over 10 years now. 10 years away from Earth. 10 years of studying alien creatures and learning about their strange ways. His job as a xenobiologist kept him busy and his life was good. But sometimes, when he looked at the vast darkness of space, he felt alone. That was before Miso came into his life. She was an orange tabby cat, rescued from Earth years ago when Tae-hyung was visiting his old home. He had found her in an alley, thin and hungry, with one torn ear and a scar on her back. She had looked at him with bright green eyes as if asking for help. He had taken her immediately. Now, after all these years, Miso was his closest friend and his anchor to humanity. Miso sat on the windowsill now, her tail curling around her body like a fluffy rope. She was watching the ships pass by outside, her whiskers twitching with interest. Tae-hyung smiled. The cat had adjusted well to space life, better than he had in some ways. She did not seem to worry about being far from Earth. She simply lived each day, eating when she was hungry, sleeping when she was tired, and purring when Tae-hyung held her. A message chimed on his computer. Tae-hyung walked over and opened it. His eyes widened as he read the words on the screen. It was an invitation to the Galactic Pet Exhibition on Kepler Station. This was one of the most important events in the galaxy. Every 5 years, thousands of the most advanced species from across known space would gather to show off their greatest treasures. This year, the exhibition was being held right here on the station where Tae-hyung lived. The message explained that the event was meant to celebrate friendship and harmony between all the species of the galaxy. It was a chance to see incredible creatures, to meet representatives from distant worlds, and to prove that despite their differences, all intelligent beings could live together peacefully. The exhibition would display animals that were worth millions, even billions of credits. Some were rare, some were dangerous. All were special in their own way. Tae-hyung read the rest of the message. It said that all guests were welcome to attend. Scientists, diplomats, wealthy collectors, and anyone with an interest in alien life could come and see the exhibition. The organizers had even offered special passes for workers like Tae-hyung who lived on the station. He would be able to see everything for free. He looked at Miso, still watching the stars through the window. An idea was forming in his mind. It was probably not a good idea, but the more he thought about it, the more it made sense to him. Why should he go to the exhibition alone? Why should he leave Miso here in the apartment while he spent hours looking at other creatures? After all, Miso was a pet too. She was a special animal, just like the ones that would be on display. The invitation did not say anything about humans not being allowed to bring their own pets. It did not say that Earth animals could not attend. It only said that all guests were welcome. Tae-hyung was a guest, and Miso was his companion. He decided that morning that he would bring her with him. It took 3 days to prepare. Tae-hyung bought a special carrier for Miso that would keep her safe and comfortable. He talked to her about the trip, even though he knew she could not understand his words. He made sure she had all her favorite foods and her favorite toys. Most importantly, he made sure she was calm and happy about the idea of going out into such a strange place. Miso seemed fine with everything. She had always been a calm cat, not easily frightened by new things. When Tae-hyung showed her the carrier, she walked inside without any fear. When he picked her up and held her, she purred against his chest. She seemed to trust him completely, which made Tae-hyung feel both happy and responsible. The day of the exhibition arrived with bright lights across the station. Tae-hyung could see the massive dome that had been built for the event. It was covered in glowing patterns and colors. Ships from dozens of different species were docked at the station. He could see Valorian scout ships with their curved wings. He could see the heavy metal vessels of the Zarathi Collective. There were sleek ships from the Neutral Corps and strange, organic-looking craft from the Kepler Alliance. The station was full of activity and noise. Tae-hyung decided not to put Miso in the carrier. Instead, he would let her sit on his shoulder, like she sometimes did at home. That way, she could see everything, and people could see her. He thought it would be nice to introduce his cat to the other species of the galaxy. As he walked through the corridors of the station toward the exhibition dome, Tae-hyung passed many strange beings. A group of tall, crystalline creatures from Rigel IV walked past him, their bodies clear and shining like glass. He saw beings that looked like living shadows drifting through the air. He saw four-armed creatures with blue skin and creatures that seemed to be made entirely of energy. None of them paid much attention to him or Miso. When Tae-hyung finally reached the entrance to the exhibition dome, he had to show his invitation to a security guard. The guard was a tall, serious-looking being with purple skin and no visible eyes. Tae-hyung could not tell where the creature was looking, but it seemed to examine him carefully. Then the guard looked at Miso, perched calmly on Tae-hyung's shoulder. "Is that a registered specimen?" the guard asked, its voice like wind blowing through an empty tunnel. "No," Tae-hyung said honestly. "She is just my pet, my cat from Earth. I brought her to see the exhibition." The guard was silent for a long moment. Then it waved one long arm toward the entrance. "You may pass," it said, "but keep your specimen under control." Tae-hyung walked into the exhibition dome, and Miso finally began to truly see the galaxy around her. The exhibition dome was the most incredible thing Tae-hyung had ever seen. It was enormous, easily as large as 10 city blocks. The ceiling seemed to stretch up forever, and when Tae-hyung looked up, he could see stars and planets projected across it as if the entire galaxy was floating above his head. The floor beneath his feet was smooth and warm, and the air smelled like flowers and electricity mixed together. Around him, the exhibition hall was divided into hundreds of sections, each one containing a different display. Some displays were small, like the size of a room. Others were massive structures that stretched up toward the ceiling. Each display had bright lights and signs written in dozens of different languages and symbols. Tae-hyung could see creatures of every shape and size, each one more unusual than the last. In one section, he saw a habitat filled with tall, colorful birds that flew in perfect geometric patterns. They moved so smoothly, so perfectly in sync with each other, that it seemed more like a dance than flying. In another section, he saw what looked like floating crystals suspended in the air by some kind of invisible force. They glowed with soft light, and when Tae-hyung looked closely, he realized they were alive. They were actual living creatures, not just pretty rocks. Miso's ears were moving constantly, turning this way and that, trying to process all the different sounds and sights around her. She was still calm, but Tae-hyung could feel her body tense slightly as they walked deeper into the exhibition hall. Every few seconds, she would turn her head to look at something new. At one point, she stood up on Tae-hyung's shoulder, stretching slightly to see better over the crowd of aliens walking past them. They walked for a long time, looking at display after display. Tae-hyung saw creatures he had read about in scientific papers, but never thought he would see in person. There were bioluminescent reptiles from Andromeda's fringe, their skin covered in glowing patterns that shifted and changed color. There were massive armored beasts that looked strong enough to destroy a building with a single blow. There were tiny creatures no bigger than insects, yet they possessed the most complex technology that Tae-hyung had ever seen. Not everyone was friendly. When Tae-hyung walked past a section where the Valorians were showing off their pets, a group of the tall reptilian beings began to make hissing sounds at him. Their scales, which had been a calm blue color, suddenly shifted to an angry red. One of them, a larger Valorian with jagged teeth, stepped forward and pointed a long finger at Miso. "What is that?" the Valorian demanded in a language that Tae-hyung understood through his translator device. That creature is dangerous. It should be caged or destroyed. Tae-hyung felt his heart begin to beat faster, but he kept his voice calm. It is just a cat, he said. A small pet from my home world. She is harmless. Harmless? The Valorian laughed, a sound like breaking glass. I can see the teeth in its mouth. I can see the claws on its feet. It is a predator. All predators are dangerous. Tae-hyung wanted to argue, but he decided it was better to just walk away. He turned and continued deeper into the exhibition hall, pulling Miso closer to his chest. The Valorians did not follow him, but he could hear them talking to each other, their hissing sounds getting louder and more agitated. After walking for several more hours, Tae-hyung found a quieter section of the exhibition dome. There were fewer crowds here, and fewer of the strange and wonderful creatures on display. He found a bench near a small fountain and sat down, holding Miso gently in his lap. She began to purr, a sound that seemed very small compared to all the noise and activity around them. I am sorry, Miso, Tae-hyung whispered, stroking her soft fur. I did not know that bringing you here would make other people afraid. I thought that showing them a real Earth cat would be interesting. I thought maybe they would understand that not all predators are bad. Miso did not respond in words, of course, but she continued to purr, and she pressed her head against Tae-hyung's hand. It was enough. The small cat seemed to be saying that everything was fine, that she was not scared, and that she trusted her human completely. A voice interrupted Tae-hyung's thoughts. That is a beautiful creature you have there. Tae-hyung looked up to see a tall woman with pale blue skin and kind eyes. She was wearing the uniform of the exhibition's staff. Her name tag identified her as HFY, the senior coordinator for the event. Thank you, Tae-hyung said, suddenly feeling nervous. He wondered if HFY was going to tell him that he had to leave or that he had to put Miso in a cage. But HFY was smiling. She sat down on the bench next to Tae-hyung, making sure to keep a respectful distance from him and Miso. I have been watching you and your pet walking through the exhibition, HFY said. I saw how the Valorians reacted. I am sorry about that. They are a nervous species. They are afraid of things that are different from what they know. What is she? HFY asked, leaning slightly forward to get a better look at Miso. I have never seen anything like her before. She is a cat, Tae-hyung explained. From Earth. She is a mammal, like me. She is a predator, yes. But she is not dangerous. Where I come from, many humans keep cats as pets. We live together peacefully. HFY's eyes widened with interest. A pet predator? That seems unusual. Most species I know have either evolved past violence or have learned to eliminate all dangerous creatures from their worlds. But you say that humans and these cats live together without conflict? Yes, Tae-hyung said. For thousands of years, cats and humans have shared our world. The cats hunt small animals and humans hunt larger prey. But we also protect each other. We feed cats, we give them shelter, and in return, they keep us company. It is a balance. HFY reached out slowly and carefully. She held her hand near Miso, but did not touch her. Miso sniffed at HFY's fingers, and her purring grew louder. After a moment, HFY smiled and pulled her hand back. She is wonderful, HFY said. I have studied many species in my time, but I have never heard of one quite like this. Many visitors will want to see her, I think. Many will be curious, but I will make sure that you and your cat are treated with respect. If anyone bothers you again, please find me. Tae-hyung felt a wave of relief wash over him. Thank you, he said. I was worried that bringing Miso here was a mistake. But I wanted to show people that Earth has beauty and wonder, too. I wanted to show them that we are not so different after all. HFY nodded and stood up to leave. You did the right thing, she said. The exhibition is meant to bring species together and help them understand each other. Your cat may just do that better than anything else here." As Hae-won walked away, Tae-hyung looked back at Miso. The cat was watching a small fountain nearby, her tail moving slowly back and forth. She seemed peaceful and happy, unconcerned with the complicated feelings and politics of the alien beings around her. In that moment, Tae-hyung realized that his cat might truly change things, for good or for bad. He just did not know which way it would go. The third day of the exhibition started like any other day. Tae-hyung woke up early in his apartment with Miso curled up beside him on the bed. They had breakfast together, with Tae-hyung eating human food and Miso eating the special cat food that he had brought from his supplies. After breakfast, they prepared to go back to the exhibition dome. By this time, Miso had become something of a celebrity in the exhibition. Many visitors who had heard about the small Earth cat wanted to see her. Some were afraid at first, but after talking to Tae-hyung and learning more about Earth, most became fascinated. A few species had even asked Tae-hyung if they could touch Miso, and he had allowed it, as long as they were gentle. Miso seemed to enjoy the attention. Tae-hyung was feeling good about how things were going. Maybe, he thought, Miso would help bridge the gap between humanity and the other species of the galaxy. Maybe her presence would help them understand that Earth was not so different after all. But that was before the disaster. Tae-hyung was walking through the exhibition dome with Miso on his shoulder when he heard it. At first it was just a low sound like distant thunder. Then it grew louder. It was a roar. But not like any animal roar he had ever heard. It was deeper, more powerful, and more terrible than anything that could come from a normal creature. Alarms began to sound throughout the exhibition hall. The gentle background music that had been playing stopped suddenly. Emergency lights began to flash, turning the entire dome into a nightmare landscape of red and shadow. "Security breach in Sector 7, a calm voice announced over the speakers. "All visitors should move to the central platform immediately. This is not a drill. All visitors should move to the central platform immediately." But movement to the central platform was impossible. Thousands of creatures were trying to run in different directions at once, panic spreading like a virus through the crowd. Tae-hyung held Miso tightly to his chest and tried to move with the flow of the crowd, but he was going against the tide of their movement. Then he saw it. In Sector 7, one of the massive containment fields had failed. The field had been keeping a creature in its habitat, a cage made of pure energy. Now the energy field was flickering, growing weaker. And emerging from the broken field was something that made Tae-hyung's blood freeze in his veins. It was called a Krell beast, he remembered from the exhibition catalog. It was a creature from the Veil Nebula, a region of space so distant and dangerous that few species had ever traveled there. The creature was enormous, easily 40 feet long, with a body covered in thick, dark armor made of chitin. It had multiple tentacles, each one as thick as a tree trunk, covered in sharp spikes and suckers. Its eyes were enormous and glowed with an angry red light. The beast's mouth opened to reveal rows of teeth, each one the size of a sword. Scientists said the Krell beast was worth 10 million credits. It was one of the rarest creatures in the entire exhibition, and also one of the most dangerous. The creature was known to have killed experienced hunters and warriors. It was a predator of the highest order, designed by nature to kill anything that moved. And it was now loose in the exhibition dome. The crowd's panic turned into pure terror. Creatures that had seemed calm just moments before began to scream. Some tried to run for the exits. Others simply froze, paralyzed by fear. The Valorians who had been so rude to Tae-hyung days before were now running blindly, their scales turning from red to a pale yellow color. The Krell beast moved slowly at first, its enormous body taking time to adjust to being outside its containment field. But it moved with a terrible purpose. It crushed display cases beneath its feet. It knocked over sections of the exhibition without even seeming to notice. As it moved, It roared again, that terrible sound that seemed to shake the very walls of the dome. Then it turned toward a group of defenseless creatures who had been frozen in fear near one of the middle displays. Among them were a family of small, delicate beings who looked like they were made of living glass. The Krell beast's eyes fixed on them, and it began to move in their direction, one of its massive tentacles reaching out toward them. This was when Miso did something that Tae-hyung would never forget. Without any warning, without any hesitation, the small orange cat leaped from Tae-hyung's shoulder. She jumped down onto the ground, and for just a moment she stood completely still, looking at the enormous Krell beast. In that moment, something ancient seemed to activate inside her. She was a predator, a hunter, and in her genes was thousands of years of evolution that had made Earth's cats into killing machines. And facing her was prey, no matter how much larger it might be. Miso launched herself at the Krell beast with a speed that seemed impossible for such a small creature. She moved like a blur, like liquid lightning. She leaped onto the beast's leg and began to climb, her claws digging into the gaps between the armor plates. The Krell beast seemed confused by this tiny creature attacking it. It swatted at her with one tentacle, but Miso was too fast. She dodged the blow and continued climbing higher. She reached the beast's body and ran across its back. Her target was clear to anyone watching. She was going for the eyes, those enormous glowing red eyes that had been looking at the defenseless creatures with hunger. The Krell beast began to thrash about, finally understanding that something was attacking it. But it was too slow. Miso was too fast. She reached one of the eye stalks and used her claws with surgical precision, slashing at the sensitive area around the eye. The Krell beast roared in pain, a sound so loud that it knocked several creatures to the ground. But Miso did not stop. She ran to the other eye and attacked that one too. Then she moved to the areas between the armor plates, finding the soft flesh beneath and attacking with everything she had. The Krell beast was bleeding now, dark ichor dripping from multiple wounds. Security forces finally arrived, flooding into Sector 7 with weapons drawn. They fired neural disruptors at the Krell beast, which was still trying to shake off the tiny orange cat that had become a fury of claws and teeth. Finally, after several minutes of battle, the Krell beast fell, its massive body collapsing to the floor. Security moved in and secured the creature, attaching restraints and reactivating a new containment field. The emergency subsided. The alarm stopped. The dome fell into in shocked silence. Everyone was looking at Miso, who stood calmly on top of the Krell beast's head, licking her paws as if she had just finished a normal day of hunting mice back on Earth. There was not a scratch on her small body. There was blood on her claws, but it was not her blood. She was completely fine. Tae-hyung ran over to Miso and picked her up, holding her against his chest. He could feel his heart pounding as fast as a drum. Miso looked up at him and purred, as if asking what all the fuss was about. The entire exhibition dome, all thousands of creatures from all corners of the galaxy, were staring at Tae-hyung and his small orange cat in absolute shock. No one spoke. No one moved. It was as if the entire universe had stopped and was waiting to see what would happen next. The silence in the exhibition dome lasted only a few seconds. Then, as if someone had turned a switch, the whole place erupted in noise. Creatures were shouting, clicking, hissing, and making sounds in 100 different languages and styles. Some were speaking into communication devices, reporting back to their home worlds about what had happened. Others were running toward Tae-hyung, not to help but to see the cat more closely. Security forces had to create a circle around Tae-hyung and Miso to keep the crowds back. The small orange cat, completely unbothered by all the attention, simply sat in Tae-hyung's arms and purred. She seemed to have no idea that she had just done something extraordinary, something that would change the course of history. Haewon appeared within minutes, her blue skin looking even paler than before. She pushed through the crowd, her expression a mixture of shock, worry, and something else that Tae-hyung could not quite identify. When she reached him, she looked at Miso for a long moment without speaking. "What is your cat?" Haewon finally asked. "What did you bring to our exhibition?" "She is just a normal cat," Tae-hyung said, confused by the tone in her voice. "She did what any cat would do if something threatened the creatures she cared about. She protected them." But even as he spoke, Tae-hyung realized that what Miso had done was far from normal. Cats did not usually attack creatures 40 times their size. Cats did not usually win against such overwhelming odds. What Miso had done was remarkable, and that meant trouble for Tae-hyung and for all of humanity. Over the next few hours, the footage of Miso's attack spread across the entire exhibition dome and beyond. Every creature there had recorded the incident on their personal devices. Within an hour, the video had been sent across the galaxy. Within 2 hours, it was being broadcast on news channels everywhere. News outlets picked up the story and ran it with increasingly dramatic headlines. "Dangerous predator unleashed on peaceful species," one headline read. "Human brings biological weapon to exhibition," read another. "Uncontrolled earth beast attacks innocent creatures," read a third. Scientists who did not understand Earth's ecosystem began to make wild claims. They said that Miso must have been genetically modified, enhanced beyond normal limits. They said that humans must be hiding weapons in the bodies of their animals. They said that Earth was more dangerous than anyone had realized, and that humanity could not be trusted. The Valorians, already nervous about Tae-hyung and Miso, began to demand that both human and cat be arrested immediately. They claimed that Tae-hyung had brought the cat to the exhibition on purpose, knowing that she would attack and kill innocent beings. They demanded that the human be charged with attempted genocide. The Zarathi Collective, a group intelligence made up of millions of insectoid beings working as one mind, issued a formal statement. They said that all Earth organisms should be banned from interacting with other species. They said that humans had proven themselves to be a threat to galactic peace. They voted unanimously to forbid all future exhibitions of Earth creatures. A group called the Neutral Corps, which included representatives from dozens of peaceful species, called for an emergency summit. They wanted to discuss whether humanity should be allowed to continue living among the other species of the galaxy. Some of them suggested that Earth should be quarantined, cut off from all contact with the rest of space. Others were even more extreme, suggesting that humanity should be eliminated entirely before they could pose a greater threat. Tae-hyung was escorted to a security holding area within the exhibition dome. He was not arrested, not exactly, but he was not free either. He was kept in a comfortable room with good food and clean water, but security guards stood outside the door at all times. Miso was allowed to stay with him, much to Haewon's credit. The exhibition coordinator had argued strongly that the cat should not be taken from Tae-hyung, saying that separating them might cause more problems. Days passed. Tae-hyung watched on screens as the galactic response to Miso's actions grew more and more extreme. Some species wanted him executed. Some wanted Miso to be dissected and studied. Some wanted the entire human race to be driven from the galaxy forever. He held Miso close during those long, difficult days. The cat seemed to understand that something was wrong. She was quieter than usual, less playful, but she stayed with Tae-hyung, and she never seemed afraid. Her calm presence was the only thing that kept Tae-hyung from falling into complete despair. One day, a visitor was brought to his holding room. It was a thin figure with skin like dark shadow and eyes that glowed with soft light. This was Dr. Hyo-jin, a renowned biologist from the United Earth Council. She had traveled all the way from Earth to speak for humanity in the galactic crisis. Dr. Hyo-jin looked at Tae-hyung and Miso for a long moment. Then she sat down in a chair across from him and smiled. The first truly kind expression that Tae-hyung had seen in days. I have watched the recordings, Dr. Hyojin said. I have read the reports and the accusations, and I have come to tell you that they are all wrong. Your cat did nothing that any predator would not do. She is not a weapon. She is simply alive, and she did what living creatures do. But they say I brought her here on purpose, Taehyung said weakly. They say I wanted to hurt people. I know, Dr. Hyojin said, but I have come prepared to prove that they are wrong. I have evidence, I have research, and I have the truth about what your cat really is and what she means for all of us. Dr. Hyojin opened a large computer file on her device. On the screen appeared images, graphs, and scientific data. She began to explain, in clear and simple terms, exactly what a cat was and why Miso's actions were not evidence of danger, but evidence of something else entirely, something that could change everything. Dr. Hyojin spent the first hour simply explaining what a cat was to someone who had never seen one before. She showed images of Earth, of forests and grasslands where wild cats lived. She explained how cats had evolved over millions of years, how they had developed their speed and their hunting skills to survive on a planet that was very different from the controlled habitats that most galactic species now lived in. On Earth, Dr. Hyojin said, there are many predators. Cats are just one among many. We also have wolves, bears, hawks, snakes, and countless other creatures that hunt and kill to survive. And for thousands of years, humans have lived alongside these predators. We have learned to coexist with them. She showed graphs and charts that compared Miso's attack to similar attacks by other creatures in the galaxy. She showed footage of Virillian strikehawks hunting. She showed recordings of Scythian warriors in battle. She showed videos of the Krell themselves hunting other creatures in their natural habitat. What you see here, Dr. Hyojin explained, is very similar to what Miso did in the exhibition. Multiple species have comparable reflexes. Multiple species have similar hunting abilities. What Miso did was not unusual. It was normal behavior for a predator protecting innocent creatures from a greater threat. The next part of her presentation was even more important. Dr. Hyojin showed the gallery detailed information about how humans treated their cats and other predators. She showed images of human families living peacefully with pet cats and dogs. She showed videos of children playing with animals that could easily kill them. She showed graphs of crime statistics proving that humans did not attack each other and that their pets did not attack their owners. In fact, Dr. Hyojin explained, humans are one of the few species in the galaxy that peacefully coexist with dangerous predators without modifying them genetically or keeping them in constant confinement. We do not change cats into something they are not. We accept them as they are, with all their predatory instincts intact. A representative from the Zarathi collective interrupted. Through their speaker, a voice that seemed to come from 1,000 mouths at once, they asked, if humans keep predators in their homes, why do these predators not attack them? Why do humans allow such creatures near their young? Dr. Hyojin smiled. Because we have something that many other species have lost. We have the ability to understand and trust creatures that are different from ourselves. We have the ability to see that a being can be dangerous and still be good. A cat can have claws and teeth and hunting instincts, and still be loyal and loving to those it cares about. Another voice spoke up, this one from a Valorian. But what about Miso's actions? What about the fact that she attacked the Krell beast without hesitation? Is this not proof that human-raised creatures are unstable and dangerous? No, Dr. Hyojin replied firmly. In fact, it is proof of the opposite. Miso did not attack randomly. She did not attack innocent creatures. She saw a threat to others and she defended them. She showed restraint. She showed judgment. She did exactly what any civilized being should have done in that situation. The Krell beast was destroying the exhibition. The Krell beast was threatening peaceful creatures. Miso acted to stop that threat. She saved lives. Over the next several hours, Dr. Hyojin presented case after case, example after example, proving that humans were not harboring secret weapons in the form of Earth animals. She showed historical records of humanity, proving that as their species had advanced and developed technology, they had chosen not to eliminate or modify their planet's dangerous predators. Instead, they had learned to live with them. This choice, Dr. Hyojin said, says something very important about human values. It says that we believe in coexistence. It says that we are willing to accept danger and potential harm in order to preserve the natural beauty and diversity of life. It says that we are strong enough to let other creatures be what they are, without trying to change them or control them. One of the diplomats from the neutral corps asked a question that seemed to resonate through the entire group. Dr. Hyojin, are you suggesting that humans are more advanced than we are? That we have been wrong in our approach to managing predators? Dr. Hyojin chose her words carefully. I am not saying that humanity is more advanced. I am saying that we are different. And I am saying that perhaps there is wisdom in that difference. Perhaps there is strength in being willing to coexist with danger. Perhaps being unable to trust creatures that are different from ourselves is not a strength, but a weakness. The room fell silent. Finally, Hai Wan, who had been listening to the entire presentation, spoke up. I would like to propose something, she said. Instead of banning humans and Earth creatures from the galaxy, I would like to propose that we study them. Let us learn from them. Let us understand how a species can achieve such peace and balance with dangerous predators. Perhaps they have something to teach us. For the first time since the Krell Beast incident, Taehyung felt a small spark of hope. The presentation had not solved everything. Many species were still suspicious of humanity, but the immediate threat of arrest or exile seemed to have lessened. Over the next few days, more and more species began to accept Dr. Hyojin's explanation. Laboratories began to study Miso, but not to harm her. Instead, they studied her with respect, trying to understand the biology and behavior of Earth cats. Scientists from dozens of species began to research human civilization and history. The Valorians remained skeptical, and the Zarathi collective still wanted Earth to be quarantined. But the majority of the galactic community began to shift their opinion. Instead of seeing Miso as a weapon, they began to see her as a teacher. Instead of seeing humans as dangerous savages, they began to see them as a species with a unique and valuable perspective on how to live peacefully with difference. One evening, when the crisis was finally beginning to fade, Taehyung sat with Miso in his quarters. He held the small orange cat and looked out at the stars beyond his window. Miso purred, content and peaceful, completely unaware of how much her simple actions had changed the course of galactic history. You saved more than just those creatures in the exhibition, Taehyung whispered to his cat. You saved humanity's place among the stars, and you did it by simply being yourself. Miso looked up at him and blinked slowly, a cat's way of showing affection. And in that moment, Taehyung knew that everything was going to be all right. The galaxy was learning to understand Earth and humanity. And it had all started with one small orange cat.